Hello and welcome to the Mattoni Half Marathon here in Ústí nad Labem, some 100 kilometers northwest of Prague in the Czech Republic. 7 is the magic number this week. Ústí is the 7th largest city in the country. This is the 7th annual edition of the race, and it's the final event in the 7-race series each year known as the RunCzech Racing Series. The series began back in April with the Prague Half Marathon, followed in May by the principal event, the Prague International Marathon. Then there were the half marathons in the provincial capitals of Karlovy Vary, Olomouc and Česká Budějovice. Coming back to Prague for the Grand Prix 10K last week, culminating here in Ústí with the half marathon.
And here's our course along the Elbe River, or the Labem as it's known here in the Czech Republic. The course crosses the river 4 times, but basically stays on the flat along the riverside, and has a few little rises, but no more than about 15 meters difference between the high point and the low point in the course. (11 degrees Celsius). Here's our lead men, the elite men, led by Barcelius Kipyego, last year's winner in 59:15, which was the 3rd fastest time in the world in 2016. Followed by Solomon Yego, Kenneth Keeter, Ismail Juma from Tanzania. Yuta Shitar is the top Japanese. And as usual, our Jiří Homolaj, number 19, is the top Czech, but he'll be challenged by Vít Pavlista, also one of the better Czech runners. They should be running around 103, 104 pace. The women's race is led by Viola Chepchumba. She is the 2nd fastest woman in history in the 10K, having run 30 minutes and 5 seconds in Prague in April. She ran last week in the Prague 10K and finished 3rd. She will be challenged by Lucy Chariot, Yvonne Jeligat, Stacy Chepkamboy. The top Czech women will be, of course, Eva Vrabskova and Petra Kamenkova, the veteran who has won some 41 national titles over the years, but she is now 44 years old, not likely to challenge Eva.
Well, we said this is the 7th and last race of the season. It's the 7th time here in Ústí. Now, even the most ardent admirer of the city would not say it's the most beautiful town in the Czech Republic. Far from it. It's an industrial city, and it's got a huge chemical plant on the other side of the river, which is the Labem River. When it comes into Germany, it's known as the Elbe. A bit more on that later. And there's going to be 1 kilometer run through that huge chemical complex once they get to the other side of the bridge. Now, in contrast to the gorgeous provincial capitals of Karlovy Vary, Olomouc, once described in recent years by an American travel magazine as the best kept secret in Europe. Karlovy Vary was the former German town of Karlstadt. Of course, we're in that northwestern area. We're closer, in fact, to Dresden than we are to Prague. This was known as the Sudetenland, which was taken over in 1938, or rather ceded to the Germans and the Nazi Party in the hope that they would not invade, but of course they did the following year. Anyway, it is now the Czech town. It was known as Aussig nach Elbe, on the Elbe at that time, and now Ústí nad Labem. Now, Jim, you were telling me that the cycle path that we took a glimpse of when we saw the river in the opening shots, you can actually go a long way on there.
You can. It runs from south of here all the way up to the North Sea. So it's some 500 kilometers long without ever having to bother with any automobile traffic. You could run along it or certainly bicycle along it. And it's basically designed as a bike path.
Well, there's 500k of that bike path. There's 21.1k here this afternoon for this 7th running of the Ústí nad Labem half marathon.
And there are some beautiful areas in the town. I was in one this morning, as a matter of fact, up on the hill by the chateau. Beautiful green area, reminded me more of Switzerland or perhaps Austria than it did of the Czech Republic.
Well, whenever people talk about the town, they say the surrounding area is beautiful, which I think is a backhanded, well, non-compliment to the city itself. We saw some of the leading elite runners, the men, on the start line there just now, as Jim was saying earlier. We got the 2 leading Czechs are here. Jirka Homolec is going for his personal best of 63.23. Eva Vrabcová, last week she said she didn't realize she was within 1 second of her 10k best when she crossed the line in the Grand Prix, until she indeed crossed the line. She did 33.08, her personal best is 33.07. She's done 71.06 for this half marathon distance. The Czech record is 71.02, so she's shooting for that today.
Yeah, and she ran, as you know, in the Rio Olympics in the marathon and finished 14th. So she is easily the best Czech runner on the female side at this point.
And a former Olympic Nordic skier, 3-time Olympian.
Yeah, and she felt that was good preparation for the running, because she was able to train hard, which of course these cross-country skiers do, but it doesn't take its toll on the legs as running does.
Well, somebody did ask her, didn't they, last week's press conference, if she would have preferred to have been a runner first and a skier afterwards. And yeah, centre of the pick there, blonde hair. And she said no. She said cross-country skiing is far easier on the knees. So I was glad I was a skier first, and although she did a lot of cross-country running to strengthen those legs, she's come to cross-country and to road running very successfully indeed. Paolo there right in the middle, interesting guy, finished 8th in the Olympic marathon in London 2012. He's preparing for the famous Fukuoka marathon at the moment, Brazilian, and he summers in Lisbon. Of course, Brazil, a Portuguese-speaking nation, so he feels back at home there. And we're just about a minute away from the start of this 7th edition of the Ústí nad Labem half marathon, and yeah, you can see well, just to the left of the screen, Viola is the women's favourite, but she's lining up alongside the men. 59.30 men's.
Paced, yes, 59.30. 59.29 to be precise, but they will try to run to go out at that pace, which may be a little optimistic, but certainly the conditions would indicate that that's possible today.
Well, it's just 11 degrees Celsius. A couple of the women's favourites centre screen there. We'll pick them up as the race unfolds. The men's course record is in fact a very speedy 59.15, 59 minutes 15 seconds. Here we go, the Lady Mare. She ran the fun run earlier on, and she sends the runners on their way. 21k to go. And we don't have the women's course record holder in here this year, Perez Chepchirchir of Kenya.
She's at home having a baby, I understand. She was pregnant when she ran in Iraq earlier this year and set a world record, which was later broken in Prague.
Well, the star of this RunCzech racing series this year has undoubtedly been the 24-year-old Joycelyn Jepkosgei. She broke 4 world records in just one race, the Prague Half Marathon, back in April. Those records were the 10K, the 15K, the 20K, and the Half Marathon world records. Then last week in the Grand Prix 10K in Prague, she hammered her own world record for 10K, set in April, and ran 29:43 just a week ago. First woman under 30 minutes in the 10K on the road.
She broke that record by some 21 seconds, which is a huge amount when you think about it.
Oh, sure. And in fact, Viola Chepchumba, running here today as favourite, had won the previous Grand Prix just over a year ago. And Jepkosgei was second on that occasion, some 20 seconds back, but really reversed the roles this year. She beat Viola Chepchumba by 40 seconds last week.
It would be nice to have that sort of result here, but I don't think we're ready for that. But I do think some course records could easily go down here.
Well, the course record is pretty rapid with
perhaps not easily.
Barselius Kipyego won this race last year in 59 minutes 15 seconds. And as Jim was saying, the now pregnant Perez Chepchirchir in 2015 ran 67 minutes 17 seconds. So maybe the women's course record is the more likely to go, but we'll see as the race unfolds.
That time by Barselius last year was the 3rd fastest time in the world, I think I mentioned before, but that is a pretty stiff nut to crack. Lots of families out watching. They ran earlier in the family run, many of them.
Well, you might have caught a glimpse of a placard saying Spol Chemie. That is the factory I was talking about, the huge chemical factory. I mean, one of the reasons that this is not such a pretty town as some of the other provincial capitals, it was only really developed around, it was a factory town pre-war, and then really built up during the communist era in the post-war. So concentration more on industry than culture. Nevertheless, you can see still some of the typical Czech architecture in the background as they open up through the streets of the central part of the city.
There's Gigi and Viola running together, 2 of our favorites. Gigi for the Czech men and Viola for the overall woman. Little downhill stretch. There's Eva Bravskova running with Lucy.
So Eva shooting for 1 hour 11 minutes 02, which would be a new, well, if she beats that, there's going to be a new Czech record. She's just 4 seconds off that time at her best. She's 31 years of age, incidentally, so considerably older than all but a couple of the leading Kenyan women. Most of the Kenyan guys in here are mid-20s. Apart from number 2, Solomon Yego, he's 30, and in fact he's the fastest man in the field with 58.44. But we're concentrating on the second man you can see is Jurka Homolac, the leading Czech male, and in fact he's in front of most of the elite women at the moment, and in fact, his Czech female counterpart is not all that far behind at this stage, but of course we're only into the 1st kilometre of the race, or the 2nd kilometre.
There they are crossing the river for the first of 4 times. They'll go over, back, and about 4 kilometers, they'll come back over the river and then do a long loop on the city side before they go back over it and then come back to the finish.
So as far as split times go, we're going to be looking for something like 14:05, 28:10 for the men if they're going to hit that 59:30 pace, and for the women 15:50 5K and 31:40 10K if they're looking for a 67-minute pace, which would be a new course record.
Yeah, that would be under 107, and that's certainly what they are aiming for. Viola has a personal pacer who is her husband, so she will have some assistance in that regard.
Incidentally, Viola, to all appearances, a Kenyan, but she switched countries last year to Bahrain. They're enlisting a number of Kenyans and Moroccan athletes to the Gulf nation. They give them a yearly stipend. They don't have to live in the country. They still train in their home country, but run internationally for Bahrain. Similar thing for Qatar and several of the Gulf nations.
I spoke to her briefly about that, whether she would, because she's always been a road runner. She sticks with the roads, and I asked her if she might consider running 10,000 in the World Championships or in the Olympics in 2020, because she's still young enough to certainly do that. If she wished to do that, she may get some bonus money, I would imagine, from Bahrain if she were able to get a medal. There's her husband, number 49.
Well, that's Vít Pavlišť, number 21, running right behind them. That's a pretty smart idea, actually, for the some of the Czech elite men. Just about at the same level as the Kenyan elite women.
So that's Israel Montesio, who's Viola's husband.
So you can see in the men's races what a group of about a dozen, maybe 1 or 2 more have broken away. Here we go. The pacemaker, incidentally, is Eliud Mwambi. Obviously a decent runner in his own right. Certainly if he can go out at 28:10 and 42:15 at 15K. I mean, we'll often get examples of Kenyan pacemakers in particular hanging in and winning races and certainly finishing in the top 3 on occasion. And several of the guys in this race have done that in the past in other events.
Well, the classic example for us was always Jeffrey Rono in almost a couple of years ago, being brought in to pace for Wilson Kipsang and then going ahead and beating him. And Dennis Comento, who was the world record holder at the time, in the process.
And he was then invited back to the Grand Prix 10K a couple of years ago, and he won that one as well. That was the race that was held just a week ago, where Joycin Jepkoskai set a fantastic women's world record, 29 minutes and 43 seconds.
It is cloudy out there, and we had a few sprinkles of rain this morning, but nothing strong, and that seems to have stopped. And the fact that there's no wind, I think, is a big advantage.
Well, this is just about perfect conditions for me. I mean, if I was running cross-country 20, 30 years ago, 11 degrees Celsius, no wind whatsoever, overcast, it couldn't really get any better than that.
So we should see some PRs today, and hopefully they'll be from our leaders.
Well, in contrast, autumn has really set in this week in the Czech Republic. 10K last week, it was 21 degrees at 7:30 at night.
But that didn't hinder anyone.
Not at 10K. Would have done, I think, at a half marathon. We're looking at Barselius right in the middle of your picture there. He's the last year's race winner. Looking at his watch, he did that fantastic 59:15 a year ago. That was a bit of a surprise at the time. Just in front of him is Isaac Langat. He's a 60-52 runner. Lives in Eldoret. That's basically the distance running capital of the universe. That's where Kip Keino, well, he didn't originally come from there. Kip came from the Nandi Hills, but he moved to Eldoret, which is the provincial capital. And you can walk down the street there, and there's a famous coffee bar where on any given day you can probably meet half a dozen Olympic gold medalists, no less.
I remember last year sitting out in front of a road in Eton, which is just down the road from Eldoret, and watching all day runners going up the hill to the track, the dirt track, and coming back down. Hundreds and hundreds of them, literally, just going up for their training. And you would see people like this in the beautiful Adidas gear, or, you know, obviously sponsored athletes. And you would also see guys in an old pair of shoes and some shorts, and they're all, it's a big industry in Kenya.
And not just Kenyans, of course. I mean, we talked about Jirka Homolats, the leading Czech male. He's been to Kenya a couple of times, and last time he was there for a couple of months, living with the Kenyans, training with them, and benefiting from training in Kenya with Kenyan athletes. We'll see how he does today, how close he gets to his 63.23 best.
But he is training for the Frankfurt Marathon next month, so he's coming off marathon training rather than any really good speed work.
Well, a lot of these guys training for a marathon, including one of the race favorites, last year's winner, Basilius Kipyego. He's going to run in Ljubljana in Slovenia on the 29th of this month, so a half marathon, good preparation, just 2 weeks out from a marathon.
We saw signs of that in April when Galen Rupp and Jordan Hasse were here from the U.S. and they used this as they used the Prague Half, which was on April 1st, for the Boston Marathon, which was 16 days later. Now the crowd's coming up onto the bridge. Still will be for a few minutes. While Viola's on the other side of the river, running along at a good pace.
As Jim said, paced by Ismail Motosio, her husband, with one of the Czech runners right in behind them. Well, we got a couple of the Japanese elite runners still hanging in there, and I see another, well, a Moroccan-born Bahraini at the back of that pack, Daza. He actually ran 27:37 on the track this year for 10,000 meters, which is really speedy.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see the Japanese in there. They did not run that well last week. We had 3 Japanese runners in the race in the 10K last week, and they did not perform at the level that they were hoping for. They wanted to get the Japanese national record and weren't able to even come close to that. The second group, and the pace cars behind them, looks like.
So and they're only just ahead of Viola Chepchumba, the leading woman from Kenya, running for Bahrain. So just to repeat the leading men here, as said, with a couple of Japanese in there, they're looking for a 59:30 overall pace. The second group is being paced to roughly 60.5 minutes. So 59.5 and 60.5.
Yuda Shidahara is the Japanese in the all white at the back of the pack there. He has been on the Japanese national team for the World Championships in the 10,000.
Well, it looks as if they might have left the pacemaker behind, or they're asking him to get back into the lead as quickly as he can, and here he comes. There you go, 14:03.
So they are right at what they wanted, a little bit under, 2 seconds or so under, but that's a good sign, because last week they ran the first 5K somewhat slower than they wanted to, and then they really busted it. But I think now Pacemaker has done a good job and gotten them to that point. They can really hammer in the last part of the race.
Well, the two fastest men in the field, as you look at leading Czech woman Eva Vrabcová, looking to run faster than 71 minutes and 2 seconds for a new Czech record. The two leading men at the moment are the two favourites, Kipyego and Yego, 24-year-old and the 30-year-old. They're the two guys immediately behind the pacemaker, who once again is Elliot Mwambi.
He got back in there. It's still a nice group considering they went through that 5K at a good pace. You've still got about 8 or 9 men there, plus the pacemaker.
Well, I mentioned Daza, the Moroccan-born Bahraini. He's in 4th place at the moment, looking very good.
Actually, it's more like a dozen men. I would have to correct myself on that.
Several of the RunCzech racing team in there, incidentally. Kenneth Kater were number 3.
Jana Procházková je ředitelkou nadačního fondu Plamínek naděje. Paní Procházková, na co se váš fond zaměřuje a jak je spojen se sportem?
But they're all wearing mostly their first names for identification.
And the light blue vest of the RunCzech racing team. Most of the rest of the men seem to be in the Adidas
rodinném běhu s ústeckými dětskými domovy, takže s námi běží několik dětí a je to vlastně už po čtvrté, díky RunCzechu, který nám teda poskytuje pro děti registrace. No a tentokrát děti podpořili i ústeční fotbalisté, vlastně členové námořstva ústecké army. Já si myslím, že pro děti je právě běh vhodným prostředkem a vytrvalostní běh proto, aby tu vytrvalost se v sobě naučili, aby ji prostě do života měli, protože to budou potřebovat a občas jim prostě chybí.
Pepa už má za sebou jeden závod, tak kolik si uběh a jak se ti to líbilo?
Běhl jsem 3 kilometry a bylo to docela dobrý. A stihl jsem to do 10 minut, jak jsem slíbil. A
jaký vlastně sport ty děláš rád, co tě baví a vlastně co ti ten sport vůbec dává do tvého života?
No, tak nejvíc hraju fotbal závodně. A potom hraju fotbal za dětský domů. No a to mi dává hodně fyzickou
I mean, her personal best is 70 minutes and 57 seconds. So Rotic, the 29-year-old, whereas Eva Vrabcová 71.06. There you go, Jim.
15-15. So that gives us a whole bunch of what would you call it, space, because 15:50 would be the pace for 106.19. So she's well under that.
Well, she is, of course, a 65.22 performer. So she's quite capable of running 65.5 minutes again, which would be almost 2 minutes faster than the course record here set by.
And that's about the pace she's running right now, just a little over that. This course is not as fast, even though there is no cobblestones on this course. That the runners do appreciate that. There's no tram tracks or cobblestones. But it doesn't seem that it's never been as fast as the Prague course.
Well, I'll be interested to see how long Pavlišta, the Czech guy, can stick in there with him, because he's got a marginally faster time than Viola Chepchumba at 65.09, but still a group of 10, 12 men contesting what is a pretty good pace. 59.5 minute pace.
Yeah, I counted 11 on that shot. Maybe more.
So some of the back markers still crossing the Labem River, the bridge, for the first time of 4. There's a good half a dozen kilometres on the other side of the bridge from the principal part of the city.
It's really a nice section of the city. If you can get on that bike path, maybe that's where they should put the course now. Just doing out and back on the bike path. But there is a bit of a hill, as you can see easily in that shot, on that bridge, which you're crossing 4 times that hill. Yuka's hanging in there. It is not, it looks brisk to me. You're a better judge of pace than I am, but.
Well, you can. Well, all I know is they're running fast.
Yeah.
put it that way. Actually, the Japanese Yuta, he's got a best of 61 minutes and 19 seconds. So, like Aziz, who is almost 2 minutes faster, these guys are elite athletes, no matter the provenance. But of course, the majority of guys in there are Kenyans. The long distance running capital of the universe.
Well, it's nice they don't have to worry about the cobblestones. They can just work on their pace. Pacemakers so far is doing a good job.
Well, when you think back that to the people that run 2 hours 5-6 minutes in Prague for the full marathon, the number of cobblestones that they've got on that course, I mean, that is a bit of a surprise. I mean, those cobbles in front of the Tower of London, they put carpets on them, so the guys have an easier passage.
Kenneth Keeter right in the middle of the shot there, in his RunCzech vest.
U mikrofonu Česká televize Lukáš Konečný, bývalý boxer. Lukáši, co vy a běh v dobách aktivní kariéry a teď?
V dobách aktivní jsem běhal vždycky rád, protože jsem musel kvůli váze, kvůli fyzičce. A teďka běhám rád, protože úspěšně tloustnu a potřebuji trošku zubnout.
Máte nějaký cíl, který byste si rád splnil?
Ale já vždycky nějaký cíle mám, něco, jako mám představu, chvíli jedu uběhnout 100 kiláků. Jsem se pokusil a skončil jsem na nějakým 64. 65.
Ať se vám to povede, děkuju.
Díky.
Looks like the pacemakers is starting to lag a bit. He's drifted back into the middle of the pack instead of the front of the pack.
Well,
Barselius is
looking
saying,
for him again.
Barselius is looking back there.
He actually looks spent already. They should forget this guy and just crack on. I mean, he is trying, but he's obviously having some problems at maintaining that pace.
Well,
you would think, wouldn't you? There's enough of them to take a kilometre or 500 metres each at the front, but maybe that's not the way elite racers think nowadays. They want a pacemaker and take them at least halfway, if not 3/4 of the way.
They would like that, I think. And when you look at the pacemakers that are doing that for a living nowadays, there's some super runners. They've got a few of them coming to Berlin next week.
Well, I think they've come to terms with the fact that Eliud Mwambi has done as much as he's going to do today as pacemaker. So last year's winner and course record holder Barselius Kipyego and his close favourite Solomon Yego, they're cutting out the pace at the front, and they are on 59.5-minute pace, if not slightly under.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get a 10-kilometer split in another few minutes here, which will really tell us where they are.
Well, they're already into the 9th kilometre, so not long now until we find out how close to that 28:10 that they're going to get.
And you're starting to see a few people drop off the back there of this group, which indicates to me that they're maintaining that early good pace.
Well, the Japanese Yuta looks as if he's struggling to hang in there. Aziz, the Moroccan-born Bahraini, he is still in there on the left side of that group.
I'm sure the lead athlete coordinator is encouraging them to continue their good running so far. And there's Bit still hanging on to Bit Pavlista, who's one of the favored Czech men, still hanging on to Violas, which indicates to me that she's still running pretty close to that 106, 105 pace. Don't step on her heels, Vin.
Well, he still looks okay, and well, so he should. He's a few seconds faster than her on paper, but we'll see what the outcome of that little struggle is going to be.
She looks fine at this point. Probably about 8 kilometers into the run for her.
So we're looking at 31:40 for her, but judging by her 5K speed, she should get there maybe a bit close to do 34:10.
Looks like this group is still holding pretty much holding together.
And Yuta has closed up a bit at the back. Maybe once the pacemaker dropped out, they relented slightly.
Yeah.
Not quite knowing what to do. But still 10 or a dozen men in there, being led by last year's winner and race favourite today, Barcelius Kipyego.
And now Isaac Langat has come to the fore.
Kipyego incidentally won České Budějovice, the provincial half capital race last year. He was also second in the Prague half marathon to Daniel Wanjiru, who went on to win the London Marathon, of course, in just ahead, or managed to stay ahead of the late surge of Kenenisa Bekele.
Yeah, if you watch those two, Bekele and Wanjiru, you never would have expected Daniel to win that race, but he has raced here in the Czech Republic half a dozen times at least, and now he's really come into his own.
Well, there are those who thought that since Barcelius is training for a marathon in a couple of weeks' time, that he may not be sufficiently sharp to maintain a challenge at the half marathon and defend his title here, but he's certainly acquitting himself perfectly well so far. Being aggressive, staying ahead of the field.
Yeah, he's the one who's been pushing the pace, even when the pacemaker was with him.
And it looks as if it might be fragmenting slightly. They should be past the 10K mark now.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get that split shortly here. As I say, hopefully. Barcelius not only seems to be leading, he seems to be pushing.
Well, certainly looks very comfortable. Perfect conditions, as we said, about 11 degrees Celsius, no wind. 28:09, bang on, yeah, 1 second faster, in fact.
They are right on for the course record, which is a very good one.
Well, they're basically doing an out and back on the other side of the river, and they're going to be coming back to the bridge shortly, but they will be coming back again to this part of the course in the latter stages of the race.
There we see Yuta Shitaka falling back.
He's running with Evans' Chariot, one of the members of the RunCzech racing team. In fact, he's just ahead of Evans there. But they are off that group now.
And it looks like another 4. It's splintering now, very definitely.
And also Aziz seems to be struggling to keep up with the Kenyans. Despite that speedy track 10,000 meters he ran in Central Europe in the earlier part of the year, 27:37. I mean, that really is a world-class time. He's finding it harder on the roads.
In looking at the 10K records, though, the road times are never nearly as fast as the track times.
Well, we certainly saw that last week when we had that sub 27-minute Ethiopian who finished 5th in the World Championships in London just a few weeks back, and he just couldn't live with the Kenyans when they were running over 27 minutes.
Well, only one man has ever run under 27 minutes on the road, and that was LPK Leonard Patrick Coleman, who ran 26:44. No one's come close to that time in the interim. And that was several years ago.
Well, Yuta's hanging in there.
You get a little foreshortening on this telephoto shot, so I'm not sure how close, whether they've closed it back up or whether he's still off the back.
So to the left of the screen, that's Ismail Juma of Tanzania. That's the first time we've seen him during this race. He's got a personal best of just 9 seconds over the hour. He won the Istanbul half marathon in that time earlier on this year. He ran on the track in the World Championships, but in Beijing 2015. But he's part of a breakaway group of 4 there, so 3 Kenyans and a Tanzanian, all from East Africa, of course, neighbouring countries.
He looks pretty good, doesn't he?
He certainly does at the moment, and he's the one that's sticking on the shoulder of Barselius, last year's winner.
But it's all Barselius at this point in terms of controlling the pace and controlling the race.
So 4 men away, there's a gap of about 20, maybe 30 meters. We can tell a bit better when they go around that corner. Or not, as the case may be.
Yeah, it's about 6 seconds, I would say. So that's 30 meters or more.
And back of that chasing pack, Yuta and Evans' Chariot have got their own little personal battle. Whereas probably the second best Czech runner at the moment, Vít, is running alongside Viola Chepchumba. And on paper, he's close to half a minute faster than her.
But these women now, Viola 30:57 for 10K.
I mean, that's extraordinary. She's really running fast. She's taken this course record apart if she can maintain this. I mean, she's halfway, almost halfway there, and she's operating at a really fast pace here.
She's running under 105, which is, yeah, maybe, I hope not too ambitious, but I would love to see her do a 105 here. That would be extraordinary.
Well, it's perfect conditions for it. I mean, 65:22 she ran earlier in the year. And this looks like Jirka running alongside Paulo Paula, the Brazilian. So it's Jirka Homolac, the leading Czech male.
They've got a nice little group there of 5 men.
Yeah, back of that is Ihor Oliferenko. I saw him run earlier this year in Thailand, but in really torrid conditions. He said he's looking forward to this race far more. 18th in the World Championships, Ihor, much better marathon runner.
But Viola's got those people in sight, so she's not running that badly. In fact, she's running super.
So Jirka Homolac is preparing for the Frankfurt Marathon, as Jim said. That's in October. And the Brazilian Paulo in the center of that group of 5, he's preparing to run the Fukuoka Marathon the first weekend of December. The leading Japanese marathon and the longest serving Japanese marathon. Famous race that all the greats have run, including going back to Bibi Bikila, the first great African marathon runner who broke through to win the Olympic marathon in Rome in 1960, followed that up by winning in Tokyo in 64 by all of 4 minutes.
Well, that Fukuoka race was an ostensible world championship at that time, because there was no world championship, and the Japanese invited people like Bikila and Frank Shorter, et cetera, to that race, and they all ran there.
Yeah, there was pretty much only the Olympic marathon and Fukuoka back in those days. I mean, there was the then Polytechnic Marathon, which was the London Marathon, albeit not the same course, not the same anything in contrast.
Here in what was Czechoslovakia at the time was Košice, which is the oldest marathon in Europe, 90 years old now. Well, it's still Marselius controlling this, controlling his own destiny, I suppose you could say.
Well, they're down to 3 now. Yep. Last year's race winner Marselius Kipyego, course record holder at 59.15. Josephat Tanui, his manager thought that he might be in there with a chance, but Ismail Juma of Tanzania, a bit of a surprise that, I mean, certainly on paper, he's got a time that suggests he should be in the top 6, but the top 3 would really be something for him. And looks very comfortable.
Yeah, it looks like he's out for a Sunday run on Saturday. Viola's like a metronome. She just goes and goes and goes. She wasn't able to keep up with the pace last week, but she still ran a very, very, very credible 30:25, I believe it was, for 10K.
Well, it says a lot about what the superb form Joycelyn Jepkosgei is in, because 1 year ago, Viola beat Joycelyn in the Prague 10K quite handily, but then by the time the half marathon rolled around in Prague 6 months, 7 months later, Joycelyn was hammering her by 40 seconds, and then beat her in fact last week into 3rd place by some 40 seconds in the 10K. Yet here she is running an absolute world-class time.
This has been the year, we've talked about this, this has been the year of the women. Certainly, not only in the Czech Republic, but you had Mary Keitany in London setting a world record for women-only race, 2:17:01. The women have performed, I think, at a level above the men this year on a yearly basis, although that could very well change in Berlin.
Well, that's Lydia Rotich, speaking of women, of Kenya, just ahead of Eva Ravsoa. And they are on the road as they are on paper. Just a few seconds separate their personal best time, and this is probably good for both of them, and certainly for Eva. If she can keep up this pace, then she's in with a big chance of beating that Czech record and her personal best.
Well, she likes to run with people, and there's seldom any people to run with, except maybe for a pacemaker, and they've obviously lost the pacemaker that was with them earlier. I don't know whether he was supposed to go to 10K or what the instructions were, but now they have a little battle of their own, which is great.
Well, they did have a Czech pacemaker, David Vash, but here's another Czech, Pavlish, is doing well to keep up, and so is another Czech, Jirka Homolac, there in that elite international group of runners.
So it's a good day for everyone to get a personal best or to improve on their time for the year for certain. Marcelli is still pushing, but Ismail is sticking right with him there.
Well, unless something unforeseen happens, and that foreshortening of the camera you know, gives the lie to the fact that that's about a 200 meters lead that trio has now over the pursuers. So I think we're seeing the first three in the race. It's just the order to be determined.
Absolutely. As long as they don't twist an ankle or just run out of gas, as you saw in Uganda a few months ago.
Just to give you a measure of this, the Barselius, the course record holder and last year's race winner, best time 59.15. Now Ishmael running alongside him 60.09 and Kenneth Keter 59.48.
So it's a quality field as it usually is in a RunCzech race, for the men and for the women. Once more over the bridge for Viola.
Yeah, and it looks like they've caught one of the earlier elite leaders. That's number 31, Robert Midge.
Robert Mitch is one of the Czech runners. And this is the second group. Now we're going forward towards the first group, towards the leaders. And yeah, 200 meters is probably conservative.
So we should be coming up or right close to the 15K mark now. Anything faster than 42.15 or around about 42.15 is going to give us a finishing time of 59.5 minutes. Well, that's the way to do it. Ava's taken on a bit of the pace from Lydia, but they're sticking together.
Excellent, excellent time for her. Perhaps they both can get a personal best out of this.
Well, Lydia's best is 70.57, 1 hour 10.57, and Ava 1:11.06.
So they're both in that neighborhood.
Now Yvonne Jeligat to the left there was considered to be one of the pre-race favorites, but she's some way off the pace.
She's back behind the Czech. 13 kilometers in 43 minutes, which would put her at a 1:10 pace. Still a good run. Here comes Eva and Lydia.
So at the moment, that gap is probably about 40 to 50 seconds. So that figures. So Eva and Lydia are operating around about their personal best time.
43.40, let's say, at 13K would give us about a 1:09, if I see this right. Yeah, about a 1:09 pace. So they're definitely doing well. If they can hold this together, they're both on their way to personal best.
So coming back
over
across the bridge again.
Actually, for the final time in that direction.
We're looking for that 15K time. She should have passed that a couple of minutes ago now, or more.
Yeah, she should be. She definitely should be by 15 kilometers now. And the men are well past that.
So Barselius forcing the pace again, but Ismail Juma of Tanzania still looking very comfortable behind him. If anybody looks as if he's struggling slightly, it's Kenneth Couture, 42.03. So, in fact, they're a dozen seconds ahead of 59.5 minute pace. He's roughly on the pace that that he won this race in last year.
Maybe he just put it on replay, and I'm going to go out there and do the same thing.
Well, he said he'd like to think he could get under 59 minutes.
It would be a surprise, though, don't you think?
Well, it would be certainly impressive if he could do that. He'd have to pick up the pace a bit in the second half here, but you know, I think at this juncture, a couple of weeks ahead of his marathon in Ljubljana, you know, the win would be sufficient. Although the course record would give him a few €1,000 extra, I gather.
Right. There's definitely some bonus money for that. I believe it's €2,000 for the course record, but that also is a bonus of 5,000 if he wins the race under 1 hour. So the total prize money would be around €10,000.
Well, I mean, all of this trio is operating under 60 minutes at the moment, and substantially so. And that group is behind is probably 300 meters back now. These guys are going further and further away with each stride.
And it's definitely Barselius who is responsible for that.
He's been really making the pace throughout the whole of the race. Even when the pacemaker was in there, he was right on his shoulder. And he was also prompting him to get to the front when he dropped back. Well, at least the first time. But the second and third time he realized that was a lost cause, so he took it on himself. So last year's winner, the defending champion, the course record holder, Barselius Kipyego. And he's a couple of strides ahead. I mean, if those other two are not careful, he's gonna lose them here.
Ismail looks to me like he's holding on, but well, maybe it's just his form, because he's right there.
So maybe nothing going to happen yet for a kilometre or two with that trio. Meanwhile, Viola appears to be well away in the lead in the women's race.
No one is challenging her. It's all up to her at this point.
So she wants to get her bonuses. 67.17 is the course record. She appears to be on anything up to 2 minutes ahead of that time at the moment. Her best, remember, 65.22. It is almost 2 minutes faster. So 46.38 for Jim.
46.38 would give her about
that's got to be close to 65 minutes, hasn't it? I mean, she's
65.25.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's pretty much her personal best time, but it would be a course record by a minute and 3/4.
As you said.
Well, Pavlishka is doing a bit of pacing of his own at last instead of hanging in behind. It's a pretty smart move, though. I think a lot of men of that standard who maybe don't know how to pace themselves properly in a race would do well to stay behind, especially someone who is being paced herself.
Yeah, maybe he was, in his mind, using the man as a pacemaker.
Well, I think they've lost the Tanzanian, the two Kenyans, Barselius Kipyego and Kenneth Couture, appear to have overcome the challenge thus far of Ismail Juma of Tanzania. He's a good 5 to 10 meters back. Although it's not over yet. I mean, it's going to need another kilometre or two to find out if he can bridge that gap. He seems to be doing okay so far.
Well, Josephat Tanui in second place there looks to me like he's the one who is struggling, but he's just very persistent. He's still there. just his form is different.
Well, he looks more comfortable now than he did about 2 kilometers ago.
Yes, yeah.
They're roughly the same age, these guys. They train in different parts of Kenya, incidentally. Kipyego comes from a place which is not at altitude in Kenya, although he does do a lot of his training at altitude. He comes from the same village as Martin Lell, a former big city marathon winner a decade back. And he said that Martin encouraged him when he was a schoolboy, when Barcelos was a schoolboy, which was only 2 or 3 years back. And it does look as if they've made that break count.
I think the string is broken.
It's 15, 20 meters now, and just getting gradually more. And as long as you've got 2 guys in the head that they're running alongside each other, it's always going to be a hard task for the 3rd guy to get back up to them.
Very impressive running for Barcelos and for Josephat.
Well, Josephat's best is 60:38, and he said that earlier this year when he was 2nd in the Prague half marathon to Temirat Tola, who had won the Dubai Marathon earlier in the year, and then went on to, well, he almost won the gold medal in the World Championships in London. He ended up as the silver medalist. Tola of Ethiopia was the leader for quite a long time in the World Championships in London just 6 weeks ago.
Well, I think that was a pacing mistake on the part of the Kenyans who let him go and didn't go with him. I think maybe Josephat could have run faster in that race. Because Tola did that all by himself.
So Josephat Tanui, the Prague half in April, was his debut at the distance, so this is only his 2nd half marathon.
They are running fast. I'm always awestruck when I watch these guys.
Well, Barcelos looks super comfortable, doesn't he?
Yes.
And it's still only about 20 meters back to Ismail Juma of Tanzania. I mean, he's safe in 3rd place. There's absolutely no doubt whatsoever. He's got that sewn up. He's some 200-300 meters ahead of the chasing pack. And it's just a case of what's going to happen with the 2 Kenyans, both of whom look extremely comfortable and are about 2K from home now.
Yeah, they've only got about 2 kilometers to go, or a little less maybe.
Well, we're going to be getting a time for 20K. Let's hope we get it before the end, because that's going to make it really interesting to see just how close they're going to get to last year's course record.
Exactly. Well, looks like Viola's caught back up to Vitt. I thought maybe she was lagging a bit, but evidently not. Now going a little uphill.
Well, this is where it always tells, doesn't it, on the hills? I mean, even for the elites.
Perhaps slowed a bit, but we really need a split time to say for sure.
So they're coming back towards the city. They're still on the other side of the river here as we take a look at some of the back markers. All of these events throughout the Czech Republic. I mean, 3 events in Prague, the rest around the provinces, thousands and thousands of people. When this RunCzech racing series, I mean, since the inauguration of the Prague Marathon in 1995, has really got the Czech Republic running.
And that's the whole point, you know, they have the family run before this event, they have junior marathons for schools, they have many other events during the year which are not IAAF gold label events, but are getting the community involved, and that's one of the major tasks for the group.
Well, here's development, and not entirely unexpected. I mean, Barcelius Kipyego, the defending champion, has looked absolutely terrific throughout this race, and he now appears to have a couple of strides on the less comfortable looking runner, Josephat Tanui, who in turn has got about 30, maybe 40 or 50 meters on Ismail Juma of Tanzania in third place.
I'm not sure if we're going to get that 20K split. I don't think we will, but we know when they turn on the bridge, they have another 800 meters to go.
Well, we may see hopefully if we see the 20K marker, and the time for a 59.5 minute race would be 56:30 at 20K. So anything faster than that, and Barcelius is going to be very close to his course record. And in fact, Josephat is not entirely done for yet. He's still within striking distance.
But Barcelius still looks very comfortable. He is pushing, but he still looks very comfortable.
He's not straining at all, is he?
Maybe he feels like he knows the course pretty well from last year. That string is lengthening. It's about 5 meters or 6 meters now, maybe a little more, maybe 10. Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure that we passed the 20K marker by now. I don't think they would have slowed this much, that he's going to be half a minute outside of his course record from last year. So we were about 2 minutes and some away from the finish. You're seeing the second place Kenyan Josephat Tanui, and that is now a losing gap for him.
He's back on the bridge with what I said, 800 meters to go.
Well, look at that. In the last kilometre, Barcelius has opened up a gap of some 20, 25, 30 metres.
Boy,
he should be well on his way to victory now.
He looks good. They do have a hill. When they get down off the bridge, they do have an uphill stretch to get to the finish line. But yeah, that's a winning length of.
Well, he's got a maximum of about 90 seconds left to run. If all of those intermediate times have given us a true picture. Well, it was a bit of a surprise last year because we hadn't had super fast times in Ústí nad Labem half marathon. So when Barcelius Kipyego ran 59:15, there was almost astonishment last year. He takes one of his last looks around. That should have told him all he needs to know, that he's well on his way to victory. And if he gets there within the next 45 seconds,
he's looking for that blue carpet right now. He's looking for that finish. He's got 20 seconds to go.
Course record belongs to him already, 59:15. Oh, and look at that.
It's going to be close. It's going to be very close.
Well, that's the first time he showed any strain, and why not? Because he has broken his course record by maybe 2 seconds, but he certainly bettered it. It was
59:22 for Ismail.
That's terrific. Look at that.
59:28 or thereabouts. Very fast.
And here's the second group. Though we thought that Wilfred, running there in that second group, might contest the victory with Barcelius, but it wasn't. It was Josephat Tanui and Ismail Juma of Tanzania who finished second and third.
And Josephat has now moved into the elite class, I would say. He will be invited to a few races based on that.
Well, here they come. It is, in fact, Wilfred Kimite.
Philip, 1 hour.
That's Philippe Tarbet, who's run an excellent race. He's broken his personal best there by some margin.
1 hour and under 20 seconds, probably 1 hour and 18 or so.
Sullivan Diego came in there. Isaac Langat came in there.
Excellent race.
So we'll get the official time. That's Aziz. Let's see how he's done. Well, it certainly looks as if he's given his all.
But they had the day for it. They had the weather, they had the competition, and a good course.
Kenneth Couture finishes, followed by Evans Chariot.
2 more RunCzech Racing athletes.
There's race director Carlo Capalvo, creator of the Prague International Marathon back in 1995, which has ultimately given rise to this whole RunCzech Racing series. And I think we're going to get a few words with the race winner, Barcelius Kipyego, very shortly, being interviewed by the host television, Czech TV.
Barcelius, you did the second best time in the world. What do you say to it? How satisfied with you?
I thank my almighty God because I have broke my personal best. Yes, the course was very nice and the weather was good.
You looked as if you are not satisfied with the pacemaker at the beginning.
Yes, I see pacemaker was lowering the pace, so I tried to push in order for me to get to go to break my course record.
Okay, thank you very much and congratulations.
Well, when you're the head man, you tell the pacemaker
Barceliuse Kipyega jsem se ptala na to, jak je spokojen s tím, jak se mu povedl tenhle závod, tak říkal, že je moc rád za to, že zaběhl druhý nejlepší čas letošních tabulek, vylepšil si o málo svůj osobní rekord, což říkal, že mu také udělalo radost a říkal, že nebyl spokojený s tempem, který Vodič nastolil a snažil se ho tlačit dopředu, aby se zrychlovalo a je moc rád, že se mu i z tohoto tempa podařilo zaběhnout traťový rekord.
And he's a 62-minute man, so he's going to be around about a minute and a half outside his best today. Maybe one of the few people who hasn't bettered his personal best, and probably outside the top 10.
Here comes that group with Jirka and Paolo.
Well, I'm afraid that looks 63.15. I'm afraid Jirka Homolats, leading Czech male, is going to be outside his personal best, 63.23.
He is, but he's still going to run that Frankfurt Marathon next month, so he wasn't expecting to be too quick, but I think he might be a little disappointed based on the conditions today and the chance to run fast with this group.
So Mikola, one of the Ukrainians, there's 2 Ukrainians in that group, Paulo Paula, the Brazilian, Abdel Kabir, and Jirka Homolats bringing up the tail end.
It's an international field there for that foursome. They're all pushing as hard as they can.
We've got Ukrainian, Brazilian, Moroccan, Czech, and then a second Ukrainian, that's Olifrenko at the back. And they're all running 64.5 minutes, roughly.
Yeah, precisely.
So some 5 minutes behind our race winner, who was giving us another stunning performance here in Ústí nad Labem. Barcelius Kipyego, twice winner in consecutive years, did 59.15 last year, broke that by 1 second this year. 59.14, and here comes the leading woman.
And there goes the race record. Absolutely, she could almost crawl across the line at this point and still get the race record.
And that race record is 1 hour, 7 minutes and 17 seconds, belonging to Kenya's Perez Chipchirchir. Viola, a former Kenyan, now representing Bahrain, and showing the strain, so she should be. Her personal best is 65.22. She's going to be outside that. She ran that at the Prague Half Marathon in April earlier this year.
But she should be under, well, maybe not, but very close to 106. Here she comes.
So the Kenyan-born Viola Chepchumba representing Bahrain. She was the race favorite.
And she's on the blue carpet. Going hard, all out now. Great time, great time. 106.07.
So she's taken 1 minute and 10 seconds off the course record. So it's records all the way yet again in one of this RunCzech racing series here in Ústí nad Labem. 2 course records today. 59.14 for Basilius Kipyego, and we think something around 66.06 or 7 for Viola Chepchumba.
There's her management there. Van de Veen from Volari.
And that's Lucy Chariot leading that group. Oh, and that's the Czech guy, isn't it? Robert Mitch. That's Mitch from Czech Republic. 68.09 is his best time. That's Petr Peček.
He always looks so uncomfortable, but he's happy with the time, I guess.
He's just outside his personal best. So that's Lucy Chariot.
And Nancy
Kiprop.
They both ran 107.20 and 107.22 approximately. We'll get the official time in a minute.
Well, that's well over a minute personal best for Lucy, and for Nancy, would you believe that's over 3 minutes?
Jirko, dnes vás nepředběhla nejlepší žena, navíc
Kenyan sweep on the podium for the women.
Českého závodníka, tak co vy tomu říkáte, jak osobně jste sám se sebou spokojen?
True. I keep forgetting that. She's only been officially Bahrain for about 6 weeks or so. Although she applied a while back, it took a while to get that approval.
Well, that's why that was permitted, because the International Athletics Association Federation they banned that temporarily. They put a halt to national switches.
Which surprised me that she did get that approved, but evidently because she had applied last year prior to the announced ban or the announced.
That's Stacey Ndiwa. We're looking at another Kenyan.
Be around 109.
And she's actually also going to be breaking her personal best, although she's a bit down the field. Her personal best is 70 minutes and 8 seconds.
She's a minute under that.
Exactly a minute. So it's been a very good day all round. As we said, these are absolutely superb conditions for long distance running. 11 degrees Celsius, absolutely still, no wind. So a bit of a chill in the air. Terrific run for her.
Comes to the next. Yvonne.
Well, Yvonne Jeligat was expected to do a lot better than this. She's a former long jumper, would she believe, and she was persuaded to turn to running. And in fact has got a personal best of 68.19. She's going to be substantially outside that today.
About 2 minutes. Yeah, and her manager was expecting her to do much better. And here comes 1 hour and 10 minutes. Here comes Lydia and Eva Rabkova going for that Czech record.
So remember, 1:11.06 Eva is looking for, or rather 1:11.02. Her best is 1:11.06. She was 1 second outside her personal best in the Prague 10K last week with 33.08. But it looks very much like she's going to get a new Czech record here. She's got a half a minute to do it.
She is pushing. She's got to get around that corner.
Oh, it's going to be so close.
Yes.
In fact, I might have been a bit presumptuous there. Well, she failed by 1 second last week to beat her personal best for 10K. And I'm afraid she's going to be just outside the Czech record today.
Yes.
And in fact, outside her own personal best. Oh, she's not going to be able to believe this.
She's not happy, you can tell.
And she knows now. First Czech, naturally enough.
1:11.20 or thereabouts. Still a very good time for her. She also is preparing for a marathon. She's going to New York in November.
So a disappointment in its way 2 weeks in succession for Eva Varobcova, the Czech Republic. Remember, a 3-time Olympic representative in Nordic skiing for the Czech Republic. And you can tell it's commiserations all the way.
Yeah, she finished 6th in the Olympics in cross-country skiing, so she's an excellent athlete in any way you look at it. Then she was 14th in the Olympic marathon last year, so she's definitely an all-around athlete.
Well, in the background, you can see some of the superstructure of the chemical factory that I was talking about earlier. There is actually a major road running right through the factory. And I think we got an interview with women's race winner Viola coming up shortly, as we watch some of the back markers coming through the Spolkemie plant. And here is Viola.
Viola, you are the first one again in Prague. You were third, here the first. So is it okay for you? Are you satisfied?
Actually, I am very happy because I have break the course record. Actually, I'm very happy.
Yeah. The beginning was very fast. You attacked world record. Are you ready for it?
I was not expecting to run maybe under 66. I was hoping maybe 67.08 just to break only the course record.
Okay, thank you very much for interview and congratulations.
Well, not expecting to do as well as she
eventually
did. She's
která říkala, že je velmi
65-22
ráda za to, že překonala tady v Ústí nad Labem trafický rekord závodu. A říkala, že ještě není připravena na to, aby překonala i ten světový rekord. Říkala, že byla připravena na to běžet čas kolem 67 minut a je velmi ráda, že
also a course record by just 1 second for the defending champion, Vasilius Kipyego. So another successful day in the history of RunCzech racing. The 7th time that this event has been held, the Mattoni half marathon here in Ústí nad Labem. And here's some of the club runners coming in very respectable times.
1:15 thereabouts. 1:14.30 to 1:15.
Eva Eva Vrabcová, největová u mikrofonu České televize. Evo, vy jste přišla o vodiče v první polovině trati, co se stalo a jak moc to bylo náročné?
Well, they're coming back under the bridge, back off of the bridge, I should say.
And here we have, well, we've already had the presentation to the bronze and silver medalists. This is the race winner, the defending champion. He's broken his own course record here, Basilius Kipyego of Kenya. He's run 59 minutes and 14 seconds. 1 second faster than last year. Just Mattoni to his right is in second place. And in third place we have the Tanzanian. A bit of a surprise, Ismail Juma.
Přesto ale ten čas není vůbec špatný.
But he substantially bettered his personal best.
Všecko jde zatím dobře v přípravě na další závody.
Tak uvidíme, jestli poběžím Běchovice, protože po minulém týdnu ten tartan mi trošku odrazil achilovku, takže teď uvidím, jak rychle zregeneruju. Nicméně začíná hlavní část přípravy na juniorský maraton a konečně manžel vyslyšel moje přání a jdeme trénovat do tepla.
Tak ať se vám dobře trénuje, děkuju.
Presenting the medals to the top 3. And the Bohemian Crystal. Some bases that they can actually use. Get them home to Kenya or Tanzania. Now I believe we will hear the Kenyan anthem.
Well, that reprise a few seconds ago of the last 100 meters, his sprint for the line was the only time in this 21.1k half marathon race that we saw any strain whatsoever on the face of Basilius Kipyego, who has broken his course record by 1 second. Another superlative time here in the Mattoni half marathon in Ústí nad Labem for the Kenyan. 59 minutes and 40 seconds, confirmation of that, and the top 7.
Josephat Chinui and Ismail Juma can both be very proud of their efforts here today.
Well, I think that's personal bests for all of that top 7 there. So testimony to the very reasonable conditions that we had here. Yuta Shitara of Japan also a minute faster than he'd previously run.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of disappointments further down, but they obviously had problems. That's why we have races. That's distance running.
Incidentally, you can see there that's an IAAF golden label or gold label race, as are the other 6 races also. So all 7 races here in the Czech Republic under the RunCzech Racing Series banner are IAAF gold labels. And that in fact is the most for any country in the world. So that's one organization alone holds more IAAF gold labels in one country than any other major country in the world.
And only one city, Prague, has 3 of those, which makes it the most in any given city. There's people running through the chemical plant grounds. The plant is closed today. But they still have a ways to go. And now we have our women's award ceremony.
So third place was Lucy Chariot. Second place, Nancy Kiprop. Now race winner and new course record holder, Viola Jepchumba.
Na druhém místě se umístila, finishing in second place was Nancy Kiprop, Kenya.
She was a bit of a surprise, wasn't she?
Well, she's got a personal best by 3 minutes. That's how surprising it was.
That's more than a bit of a surprise. First time I've seen Viola smile that much. That's great.
Medals and flowers are being handed over by.
Incidentally, in the history of women's road running, Viola Jepchumba is the second fastest at 10 and 15K in the world, the third fastest in the world at 20K, and the fifth fastest half marathoner. So, an extremely accomplished athlete, breaks the course record by 1 minute and 10 seconds here in Ústí nad Labem. Viola Jepchumba, the race winner, in 66 minutes and 6 seconds.
And most of those times you were mentioning were set here in the Czech Republic. She's run here 4 times. And done very well every time.
Dámy a pánové, na počest vítězky zazní národní hymna. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the winner will be played.
That's the first time we've heard that in the Czech Republic, the Bahraini national anthem.
So 3 Kenyan-born athletes, but the winner now representing Bahrain. Lucy Chariot third place. We're going to get the full results up for you shortly. Nancy Kiprop in second. Viola Jepchumba, the winner and course record holder.
And Queen plays in the background.
The confirmation of those times. I mean, a huge personal best for Kiprop and Chariot there. But Viola Jepchumba, new course record holder at 66.06. Eva Varsova at the bottom of the screen there, just a few seconds outside the national record. And it's a bit like her disappointment last week, just 1 second outside her personal best. Sylvia Weissteiner of Italy, Yulia Shmatenko of Ukraine, again a relatively international field here as we look at the course record. So it's thanks very much from myself and Jim Mobley. Thanks for being with us at the Ústí nad Labem half marathon, the final race of the season in the RunCzech racing series.
We look forward to seeing you next year.